His name is Samuel Carter. To the neighbors, he is just an old veteran. But to the men who survived that night, he is the reason they made it home. It was the winter of 1969. The jungle was thick, the air was heavy, and the war felt endless. Samuel was only 23 years old, young, strong, determined. But nothing could have prepared him for what would become the longest night of his life. Their platoon had been sent deep into enemy territory for a reconnaissance mission. Simple orders: move in, gather intel, move out. But war never follows simple orders. As dusk fell, the sky turned a deep shade of crimson. The jungle grew silent, too silent. Then, gunfire exploded from every direction. Bullets tore through the trees. Men shouted. Explosions shook the ground beneath their boots. They were surrounded. Chaos consumed the darkness. Samuel dropped behind a fallen log, heart pounding so loud he could barely hear his commander's voice. "Fall back! Fall back!" But it was too late. Half the platoon was pinned down. 2 soldiers were wounded, and enemy forces were closing in. That was the moment fear tried to take control. Not the fear of dying, but the fear of failing the men beside him. Samuel looked to his left, Private Rodriguez bleeding from his leg. To his right, Corporal Jenkins, barely conscious. They wouldn't survive the night without help, and help wasn't coming. The radio had been destroyed. The sky was too dangerous for air support. They were alone, completely alone. The temperature dropped fast after midnight. Rain began to fall, cold, relentless, soaking through uniforms already heavy with mud and sweat. They had no food left, no clean water, only 6 magazines of ammunition between them. 6. Samuel made a decision that would define the rest of his life. He wasn't leaving anyone behind. Not tonight. Under the cover of darkness, he crawled through mud and broken branches toward Rodriguez. Every inch felt like a mile. Gunshots cracked in the distance. He could hear enemy voices searching. One wrong move, and it would be over. He reached Rodriguez, tore a piece from his own sleeve, wrapped the wound tight. "You're going home," Samuel whispered. Then he dragged him, inch by inch, through rain, through blood, through fear. He returned for Jenkins, and then for another soldier who had lost his rifle. Each trip risked everything. Each step could have been his last. Hours passed. The rain turned the jungle floor into a swamp. Samuel's hands numbed, his stomach burned with hunger. His body screamed for rest, but he refused to stop. Because leadership isn't about rank, it's about sacrifice. At 3:17 a.m., enemy footsteps came dangerously close. Flashlights cut through the trees. Samuel held his breath. 5 wounded soldiers lay hidden behind a ridge. If they were found, none would survive. He made another choice. He stood up and fired, not to win, but to distract. Bullets tore past him as he ran deeper into the jungle, drawing them away, giving his brothers a chance. He didn't know if he would make it back. He didn't know if he would see morning. But he knew one thing. If someone had to risk everything, it would be him. For nearly 20 minutes, he moved through darkness like a ghost, firing, relocating, disappearing, until finally, silence. The enemy had shifted position. The path back was clear. Samuel returned, exhausted, bleeding from a cut across his shoulder, but alive, and so were they. Just before sunrise, distant helicopter blades broke the morning silence. Reinforcements, rescue had finally arrived. 5 wounded soldiers were airlifted out that day. All survived, because one man refused to quit. Samuel Carter never spoke much about that night. He received medals, recognition, But medals don't show the mud under your nails. They don't show the hunger, the cold, the fear. They don't show the weight of carrying your brothers through hell. Now, decades later, when people thank him for his service, he simply nods. Because in his heart, he doesn't remember himself as a hero. He remembers the rain, the gunfire, and the promise he made in the darkness. No one gets left behind. War changes men. It steals youth. It leaves scars no one can see. But sometimes, in the middle of the darkest night, it reveals who they truly are. And on that long winter night in 1969, Samuel Carter proved that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing others even when you're afraid. And that is why 5 families still have fathers and grandfathers today, because one young soldier refused to walk away.